Everybody says how bad my videos are. Um, and there's, I'm not going to dispute that at all. I would argue that if the production value of my videos is not compelling, I hope the things that I say, even though I do it very poorly, I really want to refer you to my writing. It's all available. It's all out there. You can find the ways to get to it. I don't consider it ethical to advertise my stuff, my other stuff in classes. I don't think that's ethical. I know everybody says it's very practical and it'll make me a lot of money if I try, maybe, but that's just not interesting. Still talking about tried and true methods here. Oh, this is ENMU IS 301. Howdy, how you doing? Already a minute and a half into this, and it really hasn't gone anywhere yet. Hopefully, but you're seeing that I don't care about my production value. I know everybody says, "Oh, you're stupid if you don't," and you go, "It's okay. It's okay. We have something else to say here." And one of them is production value really doesn't matter. I was talking to a good friend of mine who I work with, and he's talking about gaming. He's a gamer. I'm not. And he says, I really like the old games, the ones that had a story to it, not so graphically laden. And the problem was and I guess in the past he's been putting together a game, and I think he got to a certain point, and I think it's pretty much done, but maybe not very marketable in these days, because maybe if he continued going with that paradigm, most people aren't going to buy the stuff because people know what they want. And it's to be titillated, and it's to be, and it's to be catered to. You can always find a small market in other things. There's always a bit of a market for almost anything. It's amazing, but you got to go out and find it. I'm going to talk about this little concept right here. Good enough. Good enough. Ooh, I've got a big box over here. I get to have fun, so I'm going to highlight it. Not in the most amazing way, but it's called being good enough. Comes up more and more in some of the more philosophical things that I keep my finger on. And in your book, it talks about this thing called extreme programming. And extreme programming, in some sense, is a manifestation of it's good enough. You don't go crazy trying to figure out what you're going to do in the future. You just stay right here in the now. We'll talk more about some of the gimmicks that have been used in the past to try and create connections, APIs, stuff like that. We'll talk about that later. To try and make it so that you're planning for some future. The only problem is you don't know what the future is, especially in a business world. You can try to say, "Oh, I know, I know which direction we should go to for the next 5 years." The great 5-year plan. It was a feature of communism. I remember Bill Gates wrote a book about what he thought the future of computing was, and guess what? He got it wrong a lot. Some things were kind of obvious, and he, of course, got those. Some things he was trying to be kind of a futurist about, and it didn't go very well. That's why today Bill Gates isn't much of a futurist. Number one, he's not. He's given up Microsoft. He's got enough money. He owns most of the stock. It doesn't. I'm sure he still involves himself in the company to some extent, but not much. And he is into philanthropy now, which is far more useful than trying to predict the future, prognosticate. There's a certain amount of things that says if you have enough power, you can actually affect the future, and that's true. But Bill Gates isn't in that position anymore, chose to get himself out of it because of a lifestyle change. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about at the very end, is about bigger thing about life cycles. Oh, I like things that explain the way things really work and acknowledge those things. I'm not into gimmicks. And when we're talking about software development, you're talking a lot about gimmicks. So when we talk about the waterfall method, the way development used to be, all development used to basically be done, which is breaking up into little pieces and then working on the little pieces and then putting them together and making them all work together and then throwing it out there. That was good enough. Now, I'm not going to go with good enough too far because there's something to be said for doing a good job on something. And I think in isolation, individual people in small groups can do a good job and can make a really nice product. When you try to involve other people into things, you start having problems. You really have to find that sweet spot when it comes to software development as to how much gives people what they really want, which is basically how you sell software, is you give people what they want, and how much is really a lot of work chasing some kind of dream that very few people ever take advantage of. And sometimes you actually create your nemesis in doing so, or you create the person that drives you in the future in doing so. I find this so interesting. We got a whole slide on it next time around. It's going to be amazing. I don't know how much more I have to say about good enough. Almost everybody does this in life. Most facets of everything, if it isn't just an obsession with you, you only put in enough to make it good enough. Your plumbing at your house, for instance, is never going to be amazing. Why? Because it only serves a couple of functions. Brings fresh water in, dumps wastewater out. And where it goes, you don't really care. Where it came from, you care some, but the most important thing is it keeps coming, right? And in a form that works. That's what you're basically after. So we don't go crazy. We don't spend billions of dollars in every home to make this amazing, my plumbing system was crafted by the best architects. You don't give a flip. Any basic plumber should be able to get the thing done good enough. Boom! And you go on, and it's okay. You have to realize what things really matter. Now you can say, man, things are getting junkier and cheaper. And at that point, you need to turn back and say, okay, we need to turn back the clock. We need to use better materials. We need to use better information. We need to try harder. We're always in the process of turning something into some kind of sales pitch, some kind of gimmick. And when you do that, you start getting strange things happening that start not doing the job right. Information technology is in that place and having fun with it. I'm sorry to say. And we'll come up with that later. So this is the second one about tried and true methods. Good enough. And then we're going to go on. So hang in there. We're going to have another video. I hope these things bring you the kind of insight. I'm big on insight that you need to make better, more informed choices in your life and in your business, in everything you do, because I think it makes life so much more fulfilling and so much more happy. See you in the next video.